Hello everyone, welcome to a new stream of OffshoreCoin. Today I am driving to Köln or Cologne or in German Köln, and during my drive, especially during sorry sorry for interruption. Yeah, during vacations some climate activists spray orange color onto jets, which brings about long delays or cancellations in flights. These kinds of promotions have two aspects. First of all, yes, of course, they take a big attention. On the other hand, put the people a little bit conservative about our approach. Because just look, as a ordinary person, when we look at someone who blocks the streets to take our attention for climate change, of course it takes our attention, but when we see how they approach to make a change, I personally don't find it a clever strategy or policy. And when you don't find something clever, you cannot trust on this. We will ask ourselves, can a person who is choosing just spectacular act to win the attention, which is not constructive, could this mentality lead to a constructive change in our problem, which is global warming and climate protection? I think all of us know that these activities were not so effective to bring people into participation. They were very effective to catch the attention, but not in participation. And this attention that they won sometimes even lead a negative feeling of the audience about the objective behind of this. These things made me curious to seek a solution. My name is Morteza Sultani. I am an aerospace engineer, and my profession is to create balance between production and protection in my sector. I have witnessed aircrafts here which were colored by climate activists. The fences of Düsseldorf airport were cut, and they attacked to a private jet and colored it into orange. And you also heard about the climate activists who pasted themselves on the runway of airports and destroyed the vacation plans of the people who are not the pivotal role players of climate change and global warming. And this event and similar events made me curious. Is it possible that we find a solution, a win-win solution, which is not just focusing to take the attention of people, but also in the second stage, after taking attention, is able to involve people in global warming. And this involvement must be it must have some benefit for the people who are involved, because they are taking their times, and this led to launching this YouTube channel. On the other hand, I wanted to develop an idea, which is the axis of this channel. This idea is relocating data processors to eco-friendly islands. This term is for you still unknown, and I understand this. There are a lot of things in the background that I will describe to you, how this idea can contribute reducing carbon footprint, how it can take your involvement, and how this involvement could be also beneficial for you. So let's start from step one. How you could be involved. Normal YouTube channels just take your involvement by subscription. So you will subscribe, and this supports the channel. But on this channel, there is something extra, defined and developed. When you subscribe on this channel, you will win some part of ownership of the channel. This is very new. The idea is to let you to have stake and become stakeholder of this channel. For this, you can win a free token. And if you go to description of this video, you can subscribe and win your first new token within both links in 10 seconds. And this is something new. By gaining your first free token, you will be involved officially in the sparking of this movement. You are one of the early igniters of this idea, which is very important. As the first step, your role will be registered. And unlike ordinary YouTube channels in which you, as the subscriber, are the product, on this channel, you are a stakeholder. You are not the product. Subscribers, early subscribers of this channel, are stakeholders and not product. Why I decided to give you a token? A token is a Web3 based thing that enables us to register any activity decentralized without necessity of sharing private information and in fastest way to improve participation and for community growth. Therefore, I distribute token for my early subscribers who believe on this idea, and their name will be forever as the initiators of this idea registered and remembered. We are at the very beginning, and I didn't inform my friends to win the tokens because it's very important for me that the first token winners come completely based on their chance and their understanding. So this video finds you by chance. YouTube fits the video thumbnail and you find it and tap on it. But the second part is how you understand what I want to say. Based on these two basics, the first token winners will become for promoters of this idea. This is about how you can take a token and why I used tokenization for this channel, which is very rare, or maybe you have, I would say most of you experienced this for the first time, that a YouTube channel is tokenized. But why I try to tokenize this idea? Because this idea, regardless, we will talk about how it works, but it needs you. It is human-centric project. You play the most pivotal role on this project. And therefore, I have to facilitate the way that you participate and ensure that your participation and your time will be rewarded and appreciated, because you are doing something nice for the planet and for the others. You are sparking a new idea from point zero, and such a constructive and smart act must be rewarded. And by tokenization, I can reach you fast and easy to include you in the privilege chain of privileges that you deserve to enjoy in the future because of participation in sparking this idea. So now we are able to start this participation. The next step is, after you come in game, so you support the propagation of this idea. But what is this idea? Why I put this title to this idea? Process data on eco-friendly islands. This part requires more detail and exemplar description. Process data is the first part of this term, and eco-friendly island is the second part of this term. Process data on island. So let's split these two parts of this term and talk about each of them, because they are basis of this idea. Process data. Process data is what is happening in your device CPU, including your smartphone, your TV, your computer, tablet, any kind of smart device which has a data processor, a CPU, requires electricity to process the data. And these small, tiny objects, namely CPUs, are very silent. They don't make any smoke or pollution. They are very silent, and these specifications mislead us about their role in global warming. Could you believe that? As I mentioned, CPUs need electricity to process the data. And what if I tell you that overall electricity that CPUs worldwide use produce carbon emission? And can you guess how much carbon emission is generated by CPUs, by these tiny silent objects? Overall, CPUs utilize electricity that generates the same carbon footprint of whole aviation worldwide. Can you believe that? It is unbelievable, I know. Just suppose if we can develop this fact to the people who attack aircrafts, spray color to the aircrafts, or block the roads, and prove this fact, this 100% valid fact that computers produce more carbon footprints than aircrafts. And so it must be very I'm driving and I must watch my mirror. Yeah. So it is very important, and they cannot disregard and neglect this fact that computers are responsible for such a big amount of carbon footprint. And afterward, if we offer that there is a solution for this, and this solution is not to attack computers like attacking aircrafts, we should not break the computers. We should look at this issue within out of the box mentality. The problem is that we have an industry which is data processing. CPUs generate a big amount of carbon footprint, the same as all aircrafts worldwide. Yeah, this is the problem. But should we go and break the computers because of this, or spray orange color to computers? No. When we think out of the box, we can see the potentialities that we can release them and reach to a win-win lovely solution. So let's think about and watch this problem, watch this issue from out of the box perspective. Why CPUs produce carbon footprint? Originally, they don't produce any physical product to be pollutive or to create carbon footprint. Why? They are responsible for the same carbon footprint as the whole aircrafts worldwide. The answer is that this is not the problem of CPUs. The problem is the electricity that they use. They use carbon heavy electricity, and this carbon heavy electricity is generated within pollutive plants which use fossil fuels or other fuels which produce and generates carbon footprint. So the problem is that the type of electricity that CPUs utilize is the reason that they indirectly generate 2% of carbon footprint globally. So carbon heavy electricity of data processing. Just remember this as the first part of the term processed data on islands. The first half, processed data, is producing carbon footprint, but it is not directly. It uses carbon heavy electricity. So remind this, and let's jump to the second part of the term processed data on island, on eco-friendly islands. Maybe you don't know that, but nowadays we have eco-friendly islands which generate clean electricity within wind or solar or even biogas. And their ecosystem is so eco-friendly, which they have generated surplus electricity, much more than they need. One of the examples is Pellworm in Germany here. There is an island in Germany named Pellworm in which the surplus electricity, completely clean electricity generated on this island, should be transmitted to Germany mainland to feed Germany in order to avoid waste of this electricity. And the island administration has a big challenge to transmit this electricity, to construct the way to transmit this electricity, and for maintenance costs. And on the other hand, they are trying to find a solution because of these costs. They are thinking maybe they should save this electricity on the island itself. And this is a very complex issue that this island and similar other islands which are eco-friendly and generate clean electricity have, because they reached a point that they have surplus electricity, but they don't know what to do with this electricity, how to transmit it. And they are surrounded, islands are surrounded by water. To transmit electricity, you need cables. To implement a line, a cable line to transmit this electricity, surplus electricity, implementation and maintenance costs are heavy. And like I said, they are thinking about making new infrastructure to save this electricity on island. So the second part of our term, which is eco-friendly islands, has the problem of using or saving the clean electricity that they made. Now, mix both parts of this term. Data processors indirectly generate 2% of carbon footprint, so they need clean energy because they are not the problem. The electricity that they use is the problem. The electricity that CPUs use is the responsible factor for their carbon footprint. On the other hand, eco-friendly islands generate clean electricity, and they have problem how to use this surplus clean electricity. In one side, we have surplus clean electricity, which is trapped on islands. In another part, we have CPUs, which need clean electricity. Now, I will add something new to this equation, the catalyzer. The catalyzer number one is that the CPUs produce their product of CPUs is data. Data is not physical, is not pollutive, and it doesn't need to be transported. And if you are on an island, it is not possible. It is not problematic for data to be transferred because data needs internet to be transferred. So for the CPUs, especially data centers, big data centers, which utilize and consume a lot of energy and carbon footprint, it's not important where they are. They can transfer their data as their product without problem within internet. And the second catalyzer is satellite internet. We have satellite internet nowadays. So there is no limit where the data centers are located. They can work everywhere that you have electricity and internet. Now we have eco-friendly islands which generate surplus clean electricity, and thirsty CPUs of data centers which need clean electricity because the current electricity that they use is carbon heavy, and therefore they are responsible for 2% of carbon footprint globally. So why not we put data processors and data centers on such island? So the island doesn't need to transmit its surplus electricity within cable lines with construction and infrastructure, or try to find a technology to save this amount of big surplus electricity. So easily they can host data centers there and finish. A win-win solution, which is, I'm pretty sure none of you have heard about this solution. And you can research about this and provide me with your opinion. This solution, this unique solution, belongs to us, me and you. We promote this solution together, and you are stakeholder of this solution. You need to have your first token to be officially stakeholder of this. And after that, we start to propagate it. We start to make a community to tell the whole world about our idea, how we can make a win-win situation for all people globally. And when we make a big, strong community, we can also motivate data center owners. Just suppose, just as an example, like Google, how we are talking now. Actually, I am talking with you just. Sorry for that. I would love to interact with you more. I'm not just in one-way conversation, but now my image is processed in a data center somewhere on this planet which belongs to Google. Why? Google doesn't relocate its data centers to eco-friendly islands. What is the problem? That's completely secure and eco-friendly solution. And this is the reason that I defined this term as the title of our movement: process data on eco-friendly islands. And I don't use the eco-friendly and use process data on islands, because the other islands could also come to this game and start their journey of being eco-friendly. And we develop this idea globally, for regardless in which country, regardless which island. The most important thing is that islands has much more tendency to go eco-friendly, much more than mainlands, because on mainlands it's easier to transport fossil fuels, and therefore anyway there are some people who will use fossil fuels to generate electricity, and this is about price. But on the islands, you know, fossil fuels are expensive, so they have much more tendency to go eco-friendly. And we support this tendency worldwide by promoting this idea. So please, if you find this an effective way, if you like to join me, start to subscribe me today and start to gain your first token, because I love to have your names one by one and as the people who sparked this idea, and to talk with the whole world how you supported me to spark this unique and lovely idea as a solution for the world. Don't forget to use the link to win your first token. And please ask if you have received your referral code after winning your token, because this referral code is your document as the early subscriber and early supporter of this idea. Yeah, coming back to the conversation that we started. I started to talk if we are our current climate activities are successful to involve people in climate activities. And I started to talk how OffshoreCoin on this channel involve you in this activity within the tokenization. And then I talked about the idea, which was firstly very in the first glance looks very strange: process data on islands. What does it mean? So I tried to give you the first image about the ideas process data on islands. And now let's talk about how it can work. When we subscribe this channel, when we engage with the content, more people will see this content and they will subscribe. So we will grow the community and create a new team globally, which has a specific goal to promote the idea of process data on islands. For this, your support is everything. Please support this idea, and I think it must be also part of our fun. We will see together the story of its growth, how this idea is made, how this idea is planned, and how we overcome the challenges to develop this idea. And this is a show that you own, a show about something that you created, you sparked, you ignited. Let's start this. Please subscribe, engage with the content. For those ones who now won their first token, first free token within the link, please, if you like to see the status, if you like to be sure a function of the application, just send me the last 5 digits of your referral code that you receive from the application. I will update you, provide it on the comment of any video. Regardless, any video, you can comment the 5 last digits of your referral code that you received from the application. I will update you as a reply comment about the status, the date and time, and the ranking that you reached, which is very important, which rank you have as the early supporters. Now we don't have any token winner. So please try to be the first, or if not first, one of the firsts, because we want, our ambition is to be a global movement for climate protection. And this ranking will remain forever. Let's see who has the luck to open this video and who is smart enough to realize what is behind this idea and how capable is the potentiality of this idea to make a change in the world. I arrived in Köln, and yeah, it was, the way was much more short for me as I had your accompaniment. Thank you very much for your time, and don't forget to take your token, please. It is important. Take your ranking in this journey. I will talk soon with you and wish you a nice time. Take care. Win your first token. The link is in description. Thanks. Bye bye.